everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author, and welcome back to my channel. I write young adult fiction across a variety of genres, and if you think that might interest you, then think about subscribing below. So today I thought I would give you some facts about certain parts of the writing and publishing process, and since I'm always in the midst of revision, I thought I would start there. As usual, this isn't an exhaustive list, but it is things I've picked up in the many years of being published and writing, drafting and revising projects. Number 1. Revision is hard for everyone. I know there are going to be some people who say it's their favourite part of the writing process, and I'm not denying they exist, but like with all parts of the writing process, enjoying it doesn't mean that it's therefore easy. Like personally, I adore drafting, but that doesn't make it easy for me. Anyway, when it comes to revision, I think it's really important to keep in mind that it's a hard process. You're taking something that's taken a long time to get into one piece and reading through it, changing things here and there, and making it all the more cohesive and manageable. Now, it might be that going into this you've already have some idea of what you're going to change and what you're going to add and take away, but even if it isn't your first time revising, you will find there are going to be roadblocks along the way, and that's completely normal. It's normal to find it hard, either the whole process or just certain parts. There are going to be times when you're reading and thinking, who wrote this? It's terrible and doesn't make sense. That's all normal and part of the whole process. Number 2, your process may be different than drafting. Talking of process, you might find that when it comes to drafting, you do things one way, but when it comes to revision, that way doesn't work at all. It's taken me literal years and numerous drafts to get to the point where I have some semblance of a process when it comes to revision. But even then, it's something that can and does change from book to book, which I'll talk about in a moment, and that can be frustrating, especially when you're first starting out, because without a guide there to help you, it can feel pretty impossible. So when approaching things, be aware that this happens, that things can be a whole lot different when it comes to revision, and be ready to try this out and that out and find what works for you, at least for this book, because otherwise you're going to be banging your head against a brick wall while you try and make everything work. Sometimes it can be something where you can look for advice and the like, and take certain parts of other people's process and apply it to yours, and it will be a lot of trial and error, but keep that in mind and it'll be less frustrating for you. Number 3. Outlines for pantsers exist. I included this one because for me personally, I need to outline when it comes to revision. I have a bare bones outline when it comes to drafting, in that I am very much a pantser, but when it comes to revision, I need more details. I need to know what arcs I should be following and what needs to happen in this chapter and that chapter and all the rest. I also need to have some kind of guidance, otherwise I just end up chasing my tail and getting lost. So if this is something that you've not tried, then do consider it. When it comes to revision, I already know the story, or at least I have a clearer idea of what the story should be, even if it's not there completely. I've always made sure to have some distance between the first draft and the second, so I've had time to think about ideas and the like and how to make them work. And putting them all down in an outline has saved my butt when it comes to making those changes and implementing them. It's the same kind of thing I do when the book has been to betas and comes back ready for changes. I'll do a chapter by chapter breakdown listing what works, what doesn't, and what needs to be changed. Sometimes that can be a lot of things, other times not so much. There are also times when I can't change it and it just needs to be cut or rewritten from scratch to work with the rest of the book and the direction it's taking there. So if you don't outline while drafting and think it might work for you, consider doing it while revising. It may save you some headache. Number 4. Every book is different. Like I said, your process when it comes to revision can switch and change and evolve from book to book. One of the reasons that I found it so hard to enjoy revising is because I don't have a set process. I don't have a way that works 100% of the time with every book I revise. Sometimes the book is in good enough shape that it just needs some things tweaked and rewritten and all the rest of it. Other times the book needs a major overhaul to the point where it would just be easier to outline and rewrite it from scratch. There are phases in between, but you get the picture. There have been, at least for me, no set process, and because of that it's a daunting task to face when you're starting to get that book in shape for the professional edit. I found some things that stay the same, like the read through and outlining, but other parts switch and change even from draft to draft, never mind project to project. It can be frustrating when you think you found something that works and then get into revising again and find that actually for this project it's just not going to work. But I don't think it's just something I've experienced. Talking to other writers, they have a similar kind of problem. The goals and such for revisions change, and because of that, the process itself changes too. Number 5. There is no magic draft number. I have been asked about this so many times, but how many drafts are the right amount? Hate to break it to you, but there is no magic number I can give you. Some books take only a few drafts. Others take so many you will lose the will to count them. There's just no easy way to guess how many drafts are going to be needed. While as an indie author I have the time and such to be able to take as many drafts as possible, it's still not something where I can predict how long or how many drafts it's going to take me to bring that book to the standard that calls it done. I can't speak for the trad-pub authors because they're also working with tighter deadlines and the like, but for me, there has never been one number, it's just how many it takes to get it done. Number 6. There are no shortcuts. I've also been asked whether there are any quick ways to do revision. Because I don't have a set process for each book, and because they're always changing and evolving, I'm going to make it clear that there is no quick fix or shortcuts to getting a book revised to the point where it's done. There is no other way to revise than to sit down, work through the issues, and keep plugging away at it until you feel it's done. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but sorry, you're just going to have to put in the hard work and keep going through it. Number 7. Notes are your friend. One thing I learned early on was that taking notes while doing that first read through was a great way to cut down on the number of drafts needed. Whether that's notes of things to change, to keep, to cut, to tweak and the like, or notes to make an outline that you plan to follow, it's completely up to you. But one thing that has stayed the same for me is that my notes are the lifeblood of my revision process. I know some writers will start those notes while they're drafting and keep a running tally of them. I've never done that, but if it works for you, then go for it. It's something that I think would cut down on the amount of times you need to read through your work before you can start implementing changes. I usually do about 3 read-throughs before I start to make the massive changes. Sometimes these notes are on note cards, other times they're on the outline, and other times I'll make them in the text itself so that I know where and when things need to happen. Whatever you choose to do, it can be something that really helps. Number 8. Starting with the big stuff can be overwhelming. A lot of the time people will say to start with the big changes, and I'm not going to disagree with them there. There is no point doing revision on the line stage if you're also going to need to go through and make massive changes. It can feel really overwhelming to begin with, but it's important that you make those massive changes, whether you do them all at once or focus on one and work on it, weaving through the story before moving on to the next one. It's up to you. Personally, I've done a bit of both in that sometimes I will just focus on this one huge big change and weave that in first and then go back to the start and move on down the list. I've also done it where I'm making a bunch of big changes all at once. It really is just about your own style and process and how it works for you. One thing I should be clear is that there is no wrong way to revise. You're going to be doing things differently each time, and it's your choice how you choose to approach it. You're not going to be doing it wrong. It's about your way, and that's what matters. So while it can seem overwhelming to start with the big stuff, it's also, in my opinion, the easiest one too, because then you're not having to make the same kind of changes all over again. Number 9. It takes as long as it takes, and that's okay. You've all heard me say this more than once, and it so very much applies to revision. Like I've said, there's no magic number, there's no shortcuts, and it can take years to get to the point where you're happy with the draft. So don't go into this thinking that it has to be done in a certain amount of time. Or I don't mean don't set goals to be done with a draft or something. I just mean don't go into it thinking that you will be completely done after the second draft on this exact date. That's just going to be stressful and overwhelming, and you might miss important things that lead to you needing to go in again and again. Prepare yourself to be doing this for a while and keep reminding yourself that it's not a race. You don't have to be hitting a deadline, unless you do, in which case, good luck. And you can take your time to get things to the stage where you're both happy with the project but also pretty confident that you're done. And number 10. Feedback matters a lot. I would be remiss to not include this because the truth is that betas and CTPs and alpha readers and the like play a massive part in the revision process. You will need that feedback to know whether you're on the right track. You are the only one who can decide when to bring them in, but it's also a necessary part of the process. You will always need more than one pair of eyes on your work before it's done. It's not just about the professional edit, but about having actual readers going through the work and telling you what they think of it. It can be daunting for the first time, but it's also so very much necessary, and it will help you shape the book and turn it into something more. Don't skip the feedback. It's okay to need help, and it's okay to need people to point out things you've not seen because you're too close to the story itself. Your readers will thank you down the line. So there we go. Those are my 10 facts about revision. What is one part of revision that you really find daunting, and what's one part that you enjoy? Let me know in the comments down below. So that's all I've got time for today. If you want to support my channel, you can comment, like, or subscribe. I post new videos on Thursdays. You can find me all over social media, and my books are available everywhere, and you can also sign up for my newsletter. And don't forget to pick up Crabbing Chronicles: The Second Pang, which is the second in a young adult urban fantasy series. And also, don't forget to grab a ticket for the City in Birmingham in July, where I'll be signing books. All the links for which are listed below. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep writing. Bye.